Welcome everybody back to the Halls of History, and I've got another guest with me this time, another old friend. Old just because we've known each other for so long, but you know what? Sometimes, man, it does feel like we're getting old. Brandon
Yeah,
Knotts, man, how you doing?
yeah, we are getting old. I'm doing good, Scott. It's good to talk to you, man. We talked a lot of sports before. This may be a little more formally, I guess, but you know, it'll
Yeah,
be
hey,
it'll
formal,
be fun.
formal what? I mean, just formal, just because I got questions for you. I mean, that's
Well,
about
yeah,
it.
it's maybe there's I don't think there's gonna be a big structure, but a slight structure. Most of the time, it was just sitting on the couch in the old apartment and me
Yeah.
asking you questions.
Well, this time I'm
That
asking you questions.
I just realized when I said that this time you're gonna
Yeah,
ask me questions.
yeah, and don't forget, but I've got five trivia questions for you at the end.
Going
So.
going I'm going for a good batting average, not a good field goal percentage.
Okay, I
If I
gotcha.
can.
All right. Well, so obviously we've known each other for a long time. Why don't you tell the viewers how we got to know each other?
Well, you had Anthony on before. He was our other
Hmm.
roommate in one of the other videos. I actually first met Anthony in class. He would explain to me, "Oh, you got to come up to my dorm room. I got this roommate. He's cool. We'll get along." Separately, I had met you doing work study at Marshall's radio station. You even said, "Hey, you should come up to my room and hang out, meet my roommate. He's a cool guy. You get along." I don't know, maybe a month in, maybe not even that long. I remember I was studying for a JMC 100 quiz, and you walked by and you said, "Oh, what are you studying for?" I said, "Oh, I got JMC 100 little quiz coming up." You go, "Oh, my roommate's in that class." And I was like, well, "Who's your roommate?" There's only like 10, 12 people in that class. And he said, "Anthony Javorsky." I'm like, "That's the only other person I've talked to. He's been wanting me to meet you, and you've been wanting me to meet him this whole time." So from then on, I couldn't stay in my roommate, so I was up in you guys' room like pretty much most of that freshman year, and then we moved up to the same floor the second year. Then we lived together for I don't know how long.
Yeah. Well, yeah, up there to the 15th floor, and
Yep,
then what, 2 years in Spice Tree, and then 1 year in the house, I
yep.
guess. It's actually hard to believe that we lived in Spice Tree 20 years ago.
No, I was talking about Spice Tree the other day when we were talking about like rents, and I
Hmm.
said I wonder what it is now. I said we had three and eventually fourth roommate
Yeah.
with Tony.
Hmm.
And I was like, man, that's been 20 years ago. And I
Yeah.
was like, and it's one of those times I would probably tell a story from Spice Tree and go, "Oh, a few years ago." And I go, "Wait, no, 20 years ago." So
I
yeah, it's hard. It's hard to grasp.
Yeah, there's a lot of times I'll get to thinking about something that happened softball related or whatever, and it'll feel like it was just yesterday, and then I'll go, wait a minute. Oh my God, Amanda and Jessica were seniors. That was 2006.
Right.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. It's like, geez, it really has been about that long. Um, yeah, I mean, we had the 10-year anniversary last year of Marshall softball winning the 2013 championship. I mean, that just,
Yeah.
again, that feels like that was just yesterday, but
I know that and that's crazy. Like I can still remember the MAC days because they were the
yeah.
first Marshall program to win a CUSA championship, right?
No, volleyball had.
Oh, okay, okay. I
Yeah,
forgot about volleyball.
volleyball had.
But
They were the second.
it was like I remember the MAC so fondly, and it's like
Hmm.
the Conference USA's like era has come and gone,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like aside from like one for the football team and one for the softball and the volleyball, I'm like, man, we didn't do enough in that conference. And it was like we all waited for it to happen. It never did, but
We
yeah, there's definitely
dominate we dominated soccer right at the end. Men's soccer
yeah,
right at the
right,
end.
right. And it's like I don't know, just those different eras are farther away now than I realized. Like
Yeah.
of like I don't know, and then, like and one of the past players is when we were there as a coach now. So
Morgan Zirkle.
Zirkle, yeah,
Yeah.
and I was
Well,
like,
she was a senior in 2017, so she's not as far
well,
removed,
oh, okay,
but it's still to think back that she finished playing 7 years ago makes me feel old.
Right.
Because I remember her coming through in camps when she was still like middle school, high school. So
Oh,
I
so you
remember
went
her.
that far back.
Yeah, I remember her all
Oh
the way
wow.
back then. Then she came to Marshall and played, and now I've got these pro cards of her with her autograph on it.
Oh, that's cool. Is that
You
what you sent
know,
the text
yeah,
the other day? Okay, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Quick side note, and trust me, folks, we'll get to some football here. But so I Topps every year releases Athletes Unlimited cards, and that's one of the little boxes right there. So this year, I mean, the set's not that big. So this year, the boxes are 4 packs of 8. And I thought, whatever, you know. And so I get it and I open up, and in one box, I'd bought two of them. In one box, I get the one that's got Zirkel's autograph on it, along with Haley McClenny, Amanda Lorenz, and Aaliyah Andrews, who are all big stars. And then in the second box, I get this one, which has Allie Harrell on it, another Marshall grad
right.
who was playing there, and as well as Josie Muffley, Andrea Filler, and Frankie Hamoud. So, I mean, once I saw the Zirkel, and then I open up and I get the Allie Harrell, I thought, you got to be kidding me. This is pretty, it's like, that's
I
pretty good odds.
to get them random is awesome. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Now the one up here, Zirkel, that one I did end up buying by itself. But
did you tell her that you got a card?
oh well, yeah, I posted those so that way she and
Oh,
Allie
okay,
could
okay.
see
I
that I
didn't
actually got them. Yeah.
see.
Yeah. But all
That's
right,
funny.
so we spent enough time on this. But
We're old roommates. We have to
yeah, oh
reminisce a little
yeah.
bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But okay, so now before we get to talking about football, there is something I have to bring up here now because I want to see, okay, see how well
Oh,
you can
look at
see
that.
that.
Yes, I do.
Do you remember
I
his
did.
full name?
All right. You ready?
Yes.
It's Dikembe Mutombo, Mapalando Mukamba, Jean Jacques Wa Mutombo. And I don't know if I can remember what they all mean.
Hmm.
I know, like, Dikembe Mutombo is his name. That's what he goes by.
Yeah.
And I know one of them is like means like great warrior. I think it's
Hmm.
Mukamba. And I know
Okay.
then they say like the Jean Jacques is like a French nickname because I think the Congo, which is I think it's the Democratic Republic of Congo now, I think was a French territory or a French colony.
Hmm.
And then Wa Matumbo means of Matumbo, but I can't remember what Mapalando means.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
that was one of the first things I remember with you that just impressed me so much because well, at the time when we met, Mutombo was still playing.
oh
And
gosh,
I
yeah,
we didn't watch a ton of basketball, but we watched
right,
some. And that was a player that I remember that all three of us like, man, I love, Mount Mutombo. And then you just
yeah,
went in and Anthony and I are sitting there going, what was that? And then you repeated the whole thing and you said
yeah.
that's his full name. We just wow. Okay.
It's
Like,
I mean, I know we're gonna do. I don't know if we're just mostly doing football, but yeah, I go back with basketball really far. And
mhm.
at once Jordan retired the first time, because everybody liked Jordan, right? Everybody in the early '90s, we loved Jordan, we loved the
Hmm.
Bulls, and then Jordan retired. And honestly, some of us as kids, we were, gosh, I would have been 90 after the '93 championship, so I would have been like not even 11 yet. So we were all
Yeah.
mad at him. Like we were mad, like we felt like he quit on us. So we all started liking different teams, and of course, like the Lonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson Hornets,
Hmm.
the Penny Hardaway, Shaq Magic, people like those.
I really did end up enjoy watching the Rockets with Hakeem Olajuwon.
The Rockets,
The one
yeah,
move that he would do right near the basket where he might come in to do the layup and maybe fake it, turn and go back. I used to practice that in the
oh yeah,
driveway all the time.
oh yeah, that's that. Like I always get nostalgic when you
Yeah.
see that replay. It's so beautiful for a man his size. It's beautiful.
I did get Tony on it a few times.
Yeah, we all had to
Not
try it.
quite that often, but
We all had to try
he'd
it.
still swat me
Um,
occasionally. But
but to be honest with you, I like to watch Seattle with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp.
yeah.
But then, so I'm watching the playoffs that year. They were the number one seed. Denver was the eighth seed.
Hmm.
And I mean, the Mutombo shot blocking that he said he at the time set the record for a 5 game series for most blocked shots.
Couple more
And
rookies
I
there.
think I think I had that one that's uh in the old Denver. Yeah,
Oh, this one?
nope, other one.
This one?
Yeah, I had that. Yeah, I
Oh,
did
you're
have
talking
that
about
card.
the old jersey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Actually recognized the card. But yeah, I mean that became the thing, like watching shot blockers, and like
Hmm.
I was hooked. Like I to this day watching Ashley and I, my wife, has have been watching WNBA. She's gotten in literally just now, first time she's ever gotten into like following a team. I still love a shot block, man. I see one of
Oh
those
yeah.
girls wad it into the out of bounds, and I get pumped. So
Hmm.
this 30 years later.
When when I was broadcasting games for the women's basketball team, when I'd go on the road with them, um, I could get more into a shot block than I could a big three.
Yes.
I mean, I big threes, especially depending on the situation, but
Right.
threes are happening all the time.
Right.
But when somebody came through with a great big old, oh, spiked that, sent that back the other way, something like that. I mean, it just, oh yeah, I still love a good shot block.
Oh, especially if they have their defender beat, and then
Hmm.
that weak side help comes around, and they don't see it coming,
Yeah.
and it's just that soft lay in, and it's like, nope, it's the other way. You're like the
What,
finger
what,
wag,
yeah.
the finger wag. You got to
Yeah.
do it all the time.
But one that I always liked, and I actually got it to work one time because occasionally I'd play with the professors at the rec center there at Marshall.
Yeah.
And there was one that he was real good about drawing a foul when he came in. I mean, he basically lean into you when he's doing his layup. So one that I always liked was when the defender might step aside a little bit, let them go, but then the arm comes over top and takes it away. And
Uh,
so one time he's coming in on me. I know exactly what he's about to do. So I turn my shoulder just enough to let him go by, arm right over top, never touched him. Ow, get that out of here.
yes.
And the other professor's like, oh man, nobody ever gets that on him. I was like, I
I
got you that time.
and that's a product of not only athleticism, but you knew you knew his move.
Hmm.
He was scout. You had him scouted.
Yeah. Oh, I'd watched him several times and even had him do it to me once or twice.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, okay, now I think I know what to do. Now, folks, I was not some kind of great basketball player or anything like that. I was okay. You get me around the right people though, and I could look really good.
Yeah. That's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Same here.
All right.
Same
So
here.
so you and basketball, you go way back. But when did
Yeah.
you become a football fan? And when did you become a football fan of maybe at least an NFL team in particular?
Well, I didn't start really getting into football until I came to Marshall, which
Mhm.
would have been 2001.
Oops, wrong way.
Um,
There we
yeah,
go.
you like it felt like you had to be. And to be
Mm.
honest with you, and this is the admission, I'm from the northern part of West Virginia, WVU country. I didn't even know there was a Marshall until Randy Moss got there. So
Same here.
yeah,
And I grew up in
yeah,
Northern Virginia.
right, right. You and I
Yeah.
actually technically didn't grow up that far from each other compared to
Yeah.
a couple of hours, maybe. Really.
Got a couple of Randy Moss up here too.
There you
In
go.
in Marshall
But,
uniforms.
but yes, so I was into basketball. I came down here. I'm like, okay, this is a football college. Started going to games, and then I think a lot of stuff I would ask you because I never
Mhm.
understood the game. Like, um, and then we would just watch stuff on Sunday, NFL on Sunday, because that was you're like that's because you were at the radio station. You were doing a lot of stuff during college. You
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
working without it being called a job, but a Sunday it was like football day,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna watch this, and I'm gonna figure this out and ask Scott questions. And honestly, I think I was cheering for Marshall players for the first couple of years. Like, uh, I think Pennington would have been on the Jets at first, and then
Couple Penningtons right there.
there you go.
Yeah.
And he was on the Jets. Eventually went to the Dolphins, and I think I was watching a Dolphins Ravens playoff game, and I was like, again with the defense. Like I think there's
Hmm.
something with me in defense. Watching the Ravens defense work, like on an interception, they would turn into a punt return team, and I
Hmm.
just thought that was so cool. And then
From
uh,
that man right there, Ed Reed.
yes, and he's
Yeah.
he's the reason. It's
Hmm.
I love Ray Lewis, I love Pharrell Suggs and Haloti Nada and all those guys, but it's Ed Reed. Like I was like, this dude's awesome. This dude, this dude looks for the ball and he finds it, and he doesn't like he's not sliding. he's like he's going to try to find the end zone, and he did a
Hmm.
lot.
Yeah, well,
But
that's why he's got a gold jacket.
yeah, that's so I mean, that was it. It was like, okay, this is my if I'm going to watch this, this is my team, which I think is odd for someone who's not from Baltimore and to be my age. That's it's one of the newest teams. So I think people think it's odd. They're like, why are you a Ravens fan? Like, why aren't you
Hmm.
a Pittsburgh fan or a Cleveland fan or a Cincinnati fan? Because actually, Baltimore's not that far from where I grew up geographically.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was like, I don't. I was watching them and with you and in college, and I was like, this is I like their style of play. I like the Ravens mentality too. I like the a little grittier, a little less finesse.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe they got a little more now with Lamar, but that Ravens that Ravens team now is like the quarterback was not the star for a long time. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got Joe Flacco, who obviously had that one run through the playoffs,
yeah,
which you and I
right.
got to watch pretty, especially that Super Bowl. But I mean, and then I've got a couple Lamar Jackson up here too. But but again, Lamar Jackson, his spin moves. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's just disgusting to watch him run sometimes,
Oh,
that somebody looks like they've got him lined up and then just poof, nothing.
it it's so it's I mean like they always joke, oh, it's a video game. It's like what we used to do on like the old Madden games, like that
Yeah.
you didn't think was possible in real life. There's the one against the Bengals. I think it was
Oh yeah.
22. Was it 2022 or was it 21? No, that they run. He got them to run into each other
Hmm.
on that run. Like I was like, I'm
I
like,
well, I
bring that
mean,
back. Like
you saw somebody like Gale Sayers, Barry Sanders do stuff like that. So, you'd see the occasional running back that could
right,
pull off those moves, but there was never the quarterback that would do that. I mean, Randall Cunningham could make some people miss, but still, again, it was another oddball. And then suddenly here comes Lamar Jackson. You've already got Cam Newton who's just lowering his shoulder and running through
right,
people. But then you've got Lamar who's making moves that make you think of Barry Sanders. And it's like, oh, wait, the guy can throw the ball too.
right.
And speaking of that, so maybe jumping ahead a little bit here, but do you remember when Lamar Jackson in Louisville came to Marshall?
Oh yeah, it was he let us have it.
Yeah, that was an ugly day if you were a Herd fan, unless
Yeah,
you're just kind of enjoying the fact that, wow, I'm watching something pretty spectacular here.
it,
But, I went back and I looked at it. Of course, I had to. So the game was in 2016. Wasn't even his last year in college, but 59 to 28 loss for the Herd, by the way. He threw 5 touchdowns, ran for 2 more. Now, Chase Hancock did get an interception from him, but that was kind of the only highlight really for Marshall against him.
yeah. I mean, 7-1 touchdown to
Yeah.
interception ratio. Well, I guess he had five through the air, but
Well,
seven
but
overall
but you're
touchdowns.
responsible for 7 touchdowns.
Right, exactly.
I mean that's and if your kicker hits all the extra points, that's 49 points. The
Right.
interception didn't get taken back for a touchdown, and I should have looked at it to see if that actually led to a Herd touchdown. I don't remember if it did. Most of the 28 probably came in the second half after they took Lamar out.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah, exactly. And
gave, gave him
that
a little
was
break.
once you quickly realize that this wasn't going to be storybook Marshall night. That's when it shifts from going to watch the Herd possibly pull an upset to, you know what? Let's just watch this guy that's probably going to be really good in the future. Like,
Yeah. Well, and you and I have been through so much as far as Herd fans. Getting now, let everybody know that we got there after Chad Pennington and Randy Moss were gone, so we didn't get to see that.
right.
But we did get to see old Byron Leftwich up here and
Yep.
what he did with that offense, and where he was scoring 45 points a game because he had to. You being a fan of
Yeah.
defense, Marshall really didn't have much of a
No,
defense back
no.
then. So we got to see bowl wins. I actually got to be part of a broadcast of one of the greatest ever, the Miracle in Mobile. I mean, the
That's
double
yeah.
overtime comeback was just when I'll never forget when we're sitting there at halftime and we went to a break. We all take our headsets off. It's 38-8 East Carolina, and we're all just kind of going, "Oh my God." And Dr. Bailey looks at us and he says, please tell me that we did not just drive 13 hours to see two of our teams get their butts kicked. Because we were also down a few days early and got to do a Marshall basketball game against Auburn. And that game was tied at 32 at the half. But then Auburn lit the herd up in the second half. Vince and I were keeping track of points that came off of dunks and layups, and then also free throws that were the result of that. 57 points off of dunks and layups, and then obviously an and one.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
So
that turned it.
they were living in the pain.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that game turned into a slaughter fest, and then here we are at halftime. This is 38-8. Then somehow it gets tied at the end of the game. Marshall's got a chance to win it, but the kicker misses an extra point.
Yeah.
Like, of course, we got to do this the hard way. So it goes to overtime and then double overtime, and Marshall finally gets I 64-61.
That it's yeah, and like you just said about Leftwich outscoring people, that's what he did. I mean,
Hmm.
he just basically paced them until we could get ahead.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
my dirty little secret is out of disgust. I was at home because it was over Christmas break,
hmm
and we were in the
yeah.
dorm, so I was at home watching it on TV. I turned it off at halftime, and my mom's I don't know if we talk about it. My mom's the reason I'm even into sports. Comes
Okay.
down and she's like, "Why are you not watching the game?" And I go, "Oh, I can't watch it. It's bad." And she's like, "No, Marshall came back. It's coming back." And I'm like, "What?" So I had to flip the game back on and I watched like the overtimes. I basically skipped the whole second half and watched the overtimes. So
My dad got a huge kick out of this because a guy that he worked with at the time was a huge WVU fan. And so he said, I couldn't wait to get to work the next day. He said, I get there and the guy just goes, yeah, man, how about that herd last night? Just getting absolutely just pasted. And my dad goes, I don't know. I thought it was a pretty damn good game. He, what are you talking about? I turned it off at halftime. My dad tells him what happens. Oh my,
listen, see, at
yeah.
least I mean, yeah. Don't trash talk until you at least look at the box score.
I
Like,
seriously. I mean, heck, you could have turned on Sports Center in the morning and gone, ooh,
yeah, watch the little bottom
goodness.
line scrolling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But then we got to be there for a lot of the downtimes. You know,
Yeah,
just some bad teams where Annette, Anthony's sister, is screaming so many cuss words there in the stands,
yeah,
and even to the point where she couldn't even finish a word.
oh yeah.
I always remind her about that when she goes to say the F bomb and it just kind of comes out, "Fah!" And that was it. And I looked at her, I said, "You are so mad you can't even finish that."
And that was when she was still driving from Wheeling
Yeah.
for every home game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, God bless her for that. Like,
Yeah.
it was hard to go to the games when you were in Huntington, let alone Wheeling. Like,
Oh, she was into it. So yeah, Marshall, well, Notre Dame too, but Marshall was her team. You know,
right.
she went there, obviously. She still keeps getting the tickets, but now she lives there, makes it a whole heck of a lot easier. So she doesn't
Yeah.
have to keep putting that mileage on her car every weekend.
Yeah.
Um
I mean, yeah. The when she finally made a decision to come down here, I'm like, yeah, that's financially probably better for you.
all that money and gas you can now put towards rent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so also with going to games, I asked Nathan about this. I got to ask you about it. Captain Thunder and Herd Boy. I really wish I had a picture of this, but
Me
I don't.
too. Like, uh, do you know how it started, or did Anthony talk about how it
I
started?
he did, but still, for people who may not have
Okay.
seen that one and may be
Okay.
new to your episode.
Well, it was the stupid socks. Like, and plus Anthony and I were like, we're idiots. Like, we were idiots. Like, so we were at, I think, Gabriel Brothers, Gabe's,
Okay.
and like, just I don't even know why we were there, but it was we saw these Nike. I think they're soccer socks, like the really tall, goes up to your knee.
Hmm.
At the time, we still Marshall still had a lot of that, like hunter green. They weren't strictly Kelly, so
Yeah.
they were hunter green and white stripes. And we grabbed them. Oh, we're gonna wear these to games. And for some reason, we were like, I don't remember who was. We we should dress up like super. I guess they look like superhero tights
Hmm.
essentially, but they only went up to your knees. And somehow it was like, let's dress up like superheroes for the game. And then we went and found like green Lone Ranger mask at a Halloween store because it's in the fall. And Anthony can sew, so he got some like felt or whatever and cut out. He's art. into the artistic stuff.
Oh yeah.
So he cut out the logos and sewed them together, and like I don't know, like it's hilarious. Like little kids seem to like have a little fun with it when they saw us, and
Hmm.
but yeah,
Well, and
I wish I had pictures too.
and even just us sitting over in the student section. I mean,
Yeah,
the other students got a huge kick out of it too. I mean, it was I mean, you guys are getting high fives as we're walking through the stands up to your seats, and I'm walking behind just laughing. I'm like, God, it's like
uh,
I feel out of place right now.
the worst
Because
part.
this was right around the time when I was no longer doing football games with WMUL. So I was just beginning to get to kind of come back to games as a fan. Because
Okay,
I had never really gotten to sit with you guys before because I was always, in the booth, whether it was
right.
play-by-play color, spotting, stats, whatever it was. So I was now no longer doing games. So I was just now getting to come and sit with you guys. And so I just, other than, a couple of early games my freshman year before I started with really getting going with the radio station, I hadn't been in the stand as a fan for a while. And now here I am walking up with Captain Thunder and Herd Boy.
uh, I tell you the only like the thing I remember the most is those games in September. They're so hot, and that mask was like plastic on the inside, and it would like
Oh.
stick to my face. And at one point, I started stuffing like tissues up into like the bridge of my nose right here,
Oh,
and right below my eyes, so it would like absorb any perspiration.
I
So
forgot about
like,
that.
oh my gosh, like I was like, well, we should have got something that was like more lightweight because we had like I think I wore black Dickies shorts and Anthony wore
Well,
khaki shorts, but
you were
I
always
think
wearing shorts anyway, so.
yeah, but I mean like I don't know those I just remember being super hot, but I mean like I don't know it was fun it was like in a nutshell that was like me in college like dumb let's just try out this dumb idea because it'll be a good story 20 years later on a podcast
Yeah, there we
or on
go.
a
There,
YouTube video.
well, it was. I mean,
Yeah,
it was hilarious,
yeah.
and
The
you know,
story, being able to tell the story this long later makes it worth it.
well, yeah, and of course, I mean, Anthony could get so into it too. So, I mean, obviously, when something good would happen on the field, he's, yeah, got the cape on, and whatever. So, I
He
mean,
still he had that hair too still, and
yeah,
like that like
the
longer
longer,
hair with the
yeah,
he had like the volume on that thing. Like,
hmm
woo. He had because I threw a stupid like that was probably my biggest mistake. I threw like the Marshall like winter hat like toboggan on, and that made me like
even
probably
hotter.
that was a bad yeah that was the bad idea. Like I should have just did like a regular hat or something or like a hat backwards or
Yeah, it looked
because it's
good
not.
though.
But yeah, I mean I thought for some material from Walmart and some socks from Gabriel Brothers like yeah it
Yeah,
turned out all right. Some
yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
Velcro for the
Yeah,
the capes.
you guys didn't go out and spend a fortune on this or anything. It
No,
was like, oh, let's
no,
grab that. Hey, this will be cool, and it was. It was a lot of fun. I definitely
it
got a
was
kick
fun.
out of it,
Yeah, it was fun.
getting to be at a game with two superheroes and then Annette who could scream louder than anybody else around us. She Another one she loves to bring up was the time when I already had a headache going. And it was another bad game immediately. And she's right behind me in the stands and
Yeah,
she's screaming. And I said, nope, nope, can't do it. We got to switch
we got.
spots. I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah, you know what? I think I stay behind her now too. Actually, like when I go to games with her, I stay behind her just because then she can flail her arms too.
Hmm. She gets into it. She gets
Yeah,
into it. It's
I
awesome.
mean, she
Maybe I need to do one of these shows with her too. We can talk a little bit about that.
you could definitely go down the Marshall rabbit. Oh no, she does have her Notre Dame and um she really doesn't do much NFL does. I mean, she watches, but I don't think she has
I
a rooting interest in anybody, does she?
well, I think it's just the Packers, kind of
Yeah,
the whole family thing. Now, I don't think she's as into the Packers as Anthony is, who's, as we like to call him, Mr. Owner.
yeah.
Um, But I mean, she still watches it, But yeah,
Yeah,
she's definitely more into Marshall and Notre Dame. Um, so now, unfortunately, Captain Thunder and Herd Boy were around when seasons were starting to get bad, but
true.
we got to be there when Marshall won the title in 2014.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to bring this up.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and we stuck around through it. The weather was awful.
Oh, yeah.
It was cold and drizzly. But I remember the three of us just looking at each other as the game got closer to being over, and it's like, we gonna rush the field? Heck yeah! Are you gonna rush? Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think Anthony and I were backing off of it, and you said I never got to rush the field because I was always in the booth.
Hmm.
And then Anthony and I were like, oh, then we have to. Like,
Yeah.
we have to do this with Scott then because we didn't think of the fact that you never got to go on the Stan Hill win over Miami,
Hmm.
or like a couple weeks later the conference win over uh Toledo. I think it
I
was
can't
Toledo.
remember. Well, definitely the one with Miami was the one that
Yeah,
ended up with the coach getting arrested because he
yeah, that one was a little wild.
clotheslined somebody out there on the field.
But
And then the
yeah,
other one that destroyed the visiting coach's booth.
right. Yeah,
I
that was
I I was in WMUL's booth for that. And I think I was calling the game, but we went to a break and we just hear this smashing. We just hear what sounds like somebody has decided, hey, the game's over. We need to demolish this room so we can rebuild it. Let's go ahead and get started. Nobody's going to notice, right?
yeah.
I mean, just bang, bang. I mean, things smashing. We all look at each other and Vince just goes, what the hell is that? I don't know. And then, come to find out later, Miami's at least one of their assistant coaches trashed the booth. Like took the chair and was slamming it into the wall. I mean, there were holes in the wall. I mean, just lost his mind.
I mean that I don't know what we did to that team to cause them to like the on the field stuff and the booth stuff. I mean, maybe they thought
Stan Hill led a comeback. Come on, it was
that's
Stan
what I was
Hill.
thinking. Like they thought they don't have left, which we got this.
Yeah,
And they're like, nope. Stan Hill's like, nope. So
Stan Hill
hold
who
on
went
one
Stan
second.
Hill who went into the fetal position when DeMarcus Ware got anywhere close to him. I mean,
Well,
within breathing distance, he just down he went.
I mean, I know he's the football player and I'm not, but I can't really blame him.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
but I'm saying that's probably what Miami saw. It's like, look,
oh sure.
I
And they
I
had
mean,
Roethlisberger. They had Roethlisberger for that game, didn't they?
I don't think so. I feel like Roethlisberger was done. I think it was after that because I want to say we beat them when we had Leftwich and they also had Big Ben. But then once we lost Leftwich and they had Roethlisberger, they beat us. But then when Ben left and we still had Stan Hill, then we got that one.
Well,
I
no,
think I could be wrong on that one, but I think
The game Stan Hill won was because Leftwich was injured. Oh wait,
was it?
unless
I feel like
yeah,
it was after.
no, the
Yeah,
game
maybe.
no,
Okay.
it was the game that it was after the Akron game that Leftwich got the
Oh,
whole
oh
carry down the
yeah.
field game,
Okay.
and then we were like, oh my gosh, we lost this Akron game, we lost Leftwich. If we lose to Miami, we're out of the conference championship.
Okay. All
And
right.
lo
I'm
and
going a
behold,
little farther ahead. So
yeah,
Stan Hill had not gone into the fetal position yet. That was later.
no, that's what I was saying. I think you were ahead on that one, but he would
Yeah.
eventually go to the fetal position.
Yeah.
But yeah, because then Leftwich was because I think if Miami won, they were going to the conference championship. If we
Okay.
won, which is why we rushed the field, I think more so that hey, we made a comeback without Leftwich, and we're going to the conference championship. So then it was like just outpouring of emotion. Everybody rushed the
Yeah.
field, and then eventually we won the conference that year. I believe it was Toledo because I think a girl from back home who I grew up with in church, I wore my no, that was no. Yeah, I wore Marshall. I wore Marshall. I remember wearing Marshall gear to the Christmas Eve service that year after we beat them in the conference championship, just to poke the bear a little bit. The Christmas spirit. Let me
Oh
let me
yeah.
brag on my college team that beat your college team at Christmas, but maybe a little petty, but by that time
Yeah.
We were feeling pretty good about Marshall football back in the day at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, at that
So
time. And then yeah, we went through some real lean years, and we
that's
mean
it.
lean. And
Mhm.
then finally, yeah, that championship in 2014. I'm glad we rushed the field
Oh, I am too. I like.
because again, it's something I'm probably never going to get the chance to do. Um, I mean, heck, even when Marshall softball won the championship, I was broadcasting. So it's not like I could go run out on the field and celebrate with
And
them.
yeah.
I'm up, behind home plate broadcasting the game. I can't just go rip my headset off and go run down there. If I did that, Dr. Bailey would have never let me do another game. Um, but what happened to post game? Like, I'm sorry, I had to go celebrate.
Right.
It's
Like
like, all
you're
right,
like, oh, it's
you're
just
done.
letting the you could have pulled the the classic broadcaster thing where you're just letting
Oh yeah.
the crowd noise.
Stay tuned for part 2 of my conversation with Brandon Knotts and Talking Football with Friends as we share more Marshall memories, trips to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, English language quirks, Mike Ditka, the Ravens, King Henry, draft picks, and a little fantasy football. Next week, only on the Halls of History.